On Christmas Eve, Laura agreed to fill in for a colleague as a babysitter, never imagining that one night would change her life forever. What she discovered about the past of that mysterious single father and his little daughter shattered her heart into 1,000 pieces, and then rebuilt it in a way she never, ever expected. A secret kept for 5 years. A child who believed she wasn't loved. A man destroyed by guilt. And a woman who thought she'd never be able to love again. But before we begin this emotional journey, what city are you listening from right now? Comment below. New York? Los Angeles? Miami? Chicago? Wherever you are, stay until the end, because this story will move you, make you cry, and make you believe again in the transformative power of true love. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next amazing stories we have prepared for you. Laura Mendez was 28 years old and had been working as a professional nanny for almost 6 years in Greater São Paulo. She was that rare kind of person everyone instantly adored, patient as an angel, caring as a mother, always willing to help anyone who needed it. Her brown eyes conveyed genuine sweetness, and her smile had the power to calm even the most restless child. Families fought to have her working with their children. She was simply perfect at what she did. But behind all that kindness, behind that smile she showed the world, there was a deep loneliness, an emptiness that nothing seemed to fill. Because exactly 2.5 years ago, Laura had lost her younger sister, Beatriz, just 19 years old, in a tragic car accident on the highway. Beatriz was everything to Laura. Her best friend, her confidant, her reason for living. And when she passed away, she took with her a piece of Laura's soul that never came back. Since that terrible day, Laura built walls around her heart. She created a golden rule for her professional life: do the job with excellence, receive payment, and never, ever get emotionally involved with the families she worked for. No attachments. No deep bonds. Because loving meant suffering. And she had already suffered enough for a lifetime. On the other side of the city, in a large, luxurious apartment in the upscale Jardins neighborhood, lived Rafael Augusto Carvalho, a renowned 35-year-old architect. Tall, broad-shouldered, with black hair always impeccably styled, Rafael had that successful man appearance that caught attention wherever he went. But if you looked into his eyes, really looked, you'd see something completely different. You'd see exhaustion. You'd see pain. You'd see a weight that went far beyond physical tiredness. Rafael was a single father to a 5-year-old girl named Sofia Carvalho. And this little girl was simultaneously his greatest joy and his greatest guilt. He worked until the early morning hours, rarely smiled, almost never, actually, and lived solely for that child, desperately trying to compensate for an absence he knew could never be completely filled. Sofia's mother, well, that was a subject no one in the Carvalho family dared to touch. Not the paternal grandmother, Dona Helena, who helped Rafael whenever she could. Not the uncles and aunts. Not the close friends. All people knew, or thought they knew, was that Mariana, the beautiful and delicate Mariana, had simply left when the little girl was only 6 months old. Disappeared. Left. Abandoned husband and daughter. But the truth, the truth was much more painful, much more complex than anyone could imagine. And then there was Sofia. That little girl with curly brown hair and big eyes, so big they seemed to see into people's souls. Sofia was a sweet child, but extremely shy. She rarely spoke, and when she did, it was always in soft whispers, as if afraid of bothering the world with her presence. Rafael had already taken his daughter to 5 different psychologists. They all said the same thing: there was nothing organically wrong with Sofia. No neurological problems. No disabilities. It was just emotional trauma. Abandonment trauma. The mother's absence had left deep marks on that child, marks that manifested in silence, in isolation, in the difficulty of trusting anyone. And Rafael? Rafael blamed himself every day. Every night before sleeping. Every time he looked at that little girl and saw her sad eyes, he felt unbearable pain in his chest. I failed her, he thought. I couldn't protect my daughter from suffering. I couldn't make her smile again. It was Christmas Eve. December 24th. The day was cloudy in Sao Paulo, with that heavy air that announces rain but stubbornly refuses to fall. It was exactly 4:23 p.m. when Laura's cell phone rang, breaking the dead silence of her small apartment in the East Zone. She was sitting on the old couch, staring at the turned-off TV, without the courage to turn it on. Christmas had always been difficult for Laura after Beatrice's death. Her family lived in the countryside, in Ribeirão Preto, but she had made up some excuse not to go. She couldn't bear seeing everyone pretending to be happy, pretending everything was fine, when clearly an essential person was missing from that table. The phone rang again. Laura looked at the screen, Babysitter Premium Agency. She hesitated but answered. Laura. Thank God you answered. It was Claudia, the agency coordinator. Her voice was desperate. I know you had the day off today. I promised you'd have Christmas free, but a terrible emergency happened. Mariana can't go to work tonight. Her mother was rushed to the hospital. It's a very, very special client, he's literally desperate. It's just for tonight, until tomorrow morning at most. Please, Laura, you're the only one I trust for this. Please, can you help? Laura closed her eyes. Spending Christmas working wasn't exactly what she wanted. But the truth, the painful truth she didn't even admit to herself, was that staying alone in that apartment wasn't either. At least working, she'd have a distraction. Something to occupy her mind. Something to keep from thinking about Beatrice. Okay, Claudia, she said, sighing deeply. I'll go. Send me the address. 40 minutes later, Laura stood in front of an imposing building in Jardins. Security gate, impeccable gardens, the kind of place where each apartment cost over 2 million reais. She felt small, out of place, but took a deep breath and entered. Apartment 1804. 18th floor. When the elevator door opened and she walked down the silent hallway, she felt her heart racing for no apparent reason. There was something about that place, a strange energy. Heavy. She rang the doorbell. Footsteps on the other side. And then the door opened, revealing Rafael. Laura felt the air escape from her lungs for a second. The man before her was imposing. Tall, handsome in an almost disturbing way, but with dark circles so deep they looked like scars. He wore a white dress shirt with rolled-up sleeves, black dress pants, was barefoot. His hair, normally impeccable, was slightly disheveled. He'd clearly run his hands through it several times, a stressed gesture. "You're Laura?" he asked. His voice was deep, tired, but polite. "Yes, that's me. The agency sent me. Thank you for coming." Rafael ran his hand through his hair again, there was the gesture. "Thank you so much. I know it's Christmas Eve. I had no one else to call. The nanny who normally takes care of Sofia had a family emergency. Her mother." He stopped, as if not wanting to go into details. "Anyway. Please, come in." The apartment was exactly as Laura imagined, enormous, impeccably decorated, full of expensive furniture and artwork on the walls. But at the same time, empty. There was no Christmas decoration. No wreath. No ornaments. It was as if the date simply didn't exist in that house. Rafael guided her down a hallway to a room at the back. The door was ajar. He knocked lightly. "Sofia?" "Laura's here, sweetheart." They entered, and Laura saw the little girl for the first time. Sofia was sitting on the floor in the corner of the room, playing alone with some colorful building blocks. When she heard the door open, she quickly looked up, saw Laura, and immediately shrank even more, hugging her knees against her chest. Laura's heart squeezed instantly. That child, there was something about her that was both beautiful and profoundly sad. "Sofia, this is Laura," Rafael said, kneeling beside his daughter. His voice became softer, more delicate. "She's going to stay with you tonight while Daddy needs to take care of some things, okay, sweetheart? You're going to behave nicely for her?" The little girl only nodded, without looking into Laura's eyes. Without saying a word. Rafael sighed, a long, tired, defeated sigh. He stood up and looked at Laura. "She's like this," he said softly, so Sofia wouldn't hear. "Quiet. Very quiet. Don't be startled if she doesn't talk much, or at all. She trusts more when people don't push, you know? Just be patient. Take good care of her, please. Any emergency, call me immediately at this number." He handed her a card. "I'll be taking care of some things. But I'll keep my phone on loud." Laura took the card and nodded. "Don't worry. I'll take care of her." Rafael looked at his daughter one more time, with that expression of guilt mixed with unconditional love, and left. And then Laura was alone with Sofia. The first hours were difficult. Very difficult. Laura tried everything. She sat on the floor near Sofia and started playing with the blocks, building a colorful tower. Sofia glanced sideways, but didn't come closer. "Do you like cartoons, Sofia?" Laura asked in her sweetest voice. "Nothing. Just silence. Want us to watch something together?" "You can pick." Sofia shook her head no, without looking. Laura tried talking about toys, about school, which she imagined the little girl attended, about dolls, about anything that might interest a 5-year-old. But it was like talking to a wall. Sofia simply didn't respond. When 7 p.m. came around, Laura tried to get Sofia to eat dinner. There was prepared food in the fridge: grilled chicken, rice, beans, salad. Healthy food, made with care. But Sofia only poked at the plate with her fork, ate 3 bites, and stopped. "Don't want any more, sweetheart?" Laura asked, genuinely concerned. "Not hungry," Sofia whispered. So quietly that Laura almost didn't hear. "That's okay. No problem. You can eat whenever you want." Laura didn't push. She'd learned over the years that forcing a child only made things worse. They went back to the bedroom. And that's when Laura noticed something she'd missed before. In the corner of Sofia's room, there was a small artificial Christmas tree, about 3 feet tall. But the tree was completely bare. No ornaments. No lights. Nothing. And underneath it, no presents. Laura felt a strange pang in her chest. Why was there a tree there if no one had decorated it? "Sofia," she said, approaching slowly. "Don't you want to decorate the tree with me? It could be fun. We can put lights on it, colorful ornaments." And then, for the first time since Laura arrived, Sofia looked directly into her eyes. And Laura saw it. Saw tears forming in those big, sad eyes. "Daddy doesn't like Christmas," Sofia whispered, her voice choked. Laura felt like someone had punched her stomach. "Why not, sweetheart?" Sofia lowered her head. Tears started falling, silent, soaking her pink pajamas with unicorn prints. "Because Mommy left on Christmas." And right there, in that moment, in that simple and devastating sentence from a 5-year-old child, Laura understood. The trauma of that family wasn't just in the mother's absence, It was in the date. In the time of year. In the symbol that should represent joy, togetherness, love, but for them represented abandonment, loss, pain. Laura knelt in front of Sofia and, without thinking twice, hugged the little girl. Sofia went rigid for a second, surprised, but then she broke down. She cried. Cried like she probably hadn't cried in a long time. Cried in the arms of a complete stranger who, somehow, made her feel safe. "It's okay, sweetheart," Laura whispered, stroking Sofia's curly hair. "It's okay to cry. Cry as much as you need. I'm here. I'm right here with you." While Laura held Sofia in her arms, feeling the little girl's tears soak her blouse, on the other side of the city, Rafael was driving his car through Sao Paulo's empty streets toward the North Zone. He hadn't completely lied to Laura when he said he needed to take care of some things. But he also hadn't told the complete truth. Because the truth was too heavy. Too painful. Too complicated to explain to a nanny he'd just met. Rafael was heading to Santa Clara Psychiatric Hospital, a private, discreet, high-end institution located in a remote area. The kind of place wealthy families used when they had delicate problems that needed to be kept away from the spotlight. He parked in the empty parking lot. It was almost 8 p.m. Christmas Eve. He looked at the white building in front of him and felt the familiar weight in his chest. That weight that never went away. He took a deep breath. Got out of the car. Walked to reception. "Good evening, Mr. Rafael," the receptionist said, with a professional but genuinely friendly smile. It was Sonia, a lady about 55 who'd worked there for decades. She knew Rafael. Knew him well. He came there every week. Sometimes twice a week. For 5 years. "Good evening, Mrs. Sonia. How is she today?" "She had a calm day. Took her medication properly, ate well. She's in her room now, awake. You can go up." Rafael nodded and walked to the elevator. 3rd floor. Room 304. He knew that path with his eyes closed. He'd walked that hallway so many, many times. He stopped in front of the door. Took a deep breath. And entered. The room was simple but comfortable. Light walls, a hospital bed, an armchair, a small TV. And in the bed, sitting, looking out the window at the dark sky, was Mariana. Mariana Souza Carvalho. Or rather, ex-Carvalho. They'd officially divorced 3 years ago, but Rafael had never been able to let that woman go. Not emotionally. Mariana was 32 years old but looked younger. Straight, long brown hair, delicate face, pale skin from lack of sun exposure. She was wearing a light blue hospital gown and thick socks. When she heard the door open, she turned her face. "Rafael," she said. Her voice was soft, almost ethereal. "You came." "I always come, Mari," he said, approaching and sitting in the chair beside the bed. "How are you?" "Today was a good day," she answered, with a small smile. "I painted." The therapist brought paints. "I painted a sunset. It turned out nice." Rafael smiled. Those were the good days. The days when Mariana was lucid, aware, present. But he knew those days were rare. Most of the time, she was lost, immersed in her own world, fighting invisible demons that Rafael couldn't see or combat. "That's great, love. You always painted so well." They sat in silence for a moment. And then Mariana asked, with that voice full of hope and pain. "How is she?" "Sofia?" Rafael felt the familiar tightness in his chest. "She's fine. Growing. Beautiful. Looks more like you every day." Tears began sliding down Mariana's face. I wish I could see her so much, Rafa. I wish I could hug my daughter. But I can't. I'm not good enough. I can't even take care of myself. How am I going to take care of her? Mari, don't say that. You're getting better. The treatment is working. But they both knew it was a lie. A kind lie, said with good intentions, but a lie. Because the truth was that Mariana had been in that hospital for 5 years. 5 years of treatments, medications, therapies. And she remained trapped in her own mind. Rafael took her hand, intertwined their fingers. Mari, I need to tell you something. Sofia, she thinks you didn't love her. That you left because you didn't want to be a mother. Mariana sobbed. No, 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 no. How can she think that? Because she doesn't know the truth, Mari. Because I never had the courage to tell her. Then tell her. Mariana yelled, with sudden intensity. Tell her that her mother is crazy. That her mother tried to kill herself. That her mother is locked in this damn hospital because she can't function in the real world. Tell her everything. Rafael closed his eyes, feeling tears come. She's 5 years old, Mari. How do I explain that to a 5-year-old child? Mariana covered her face with her hands and cried. And Rafael cried with her. There, in that hospital room, they both cried for everything that could have been and never was. Cried for the destroyed marriage. For the broken family. For the daughter growing up without a mother. For the cruel illness that stole from them any chance of happiness. Because Mariana's story was tragic. She and Rafael met when she was 22 and he was 25, at an architecture party. She was an interior design student. He, a newly graduated architect. It was love at first sight. That kind of cinematic, intense, overwhelming love. They married a year later. And at 26, Mariana got pregnant with Sofia. The pregnancy was planned. Desired. They were both euphoric. But then came the birth. And after birth came postpartum depression. But not a common depression. Something much, much more severe. Mariana began having terrible thoughts. Thoughts of hurting her daughter. Thoughts that Sofia would be better off without her. She didn't sleep. Didn't eat. Spent entire days crying, unable to understand what was happening with her own mind. Rafael tried to help. Took her to psychiatrists. She started medication. But nothing worked. And then, on Christmas Eve, when Sofia was 6 months old, Mariana tried to end her life. She took an entire box of pills. Rafael found her passed out in the bathroom and called the ambulance in time. She survived. But since then, she was never the same. Diagnosed with severe bipolar disorder, major depression, and psychotic episodes, Mariana went on to live between hospitalizations. Rafael tried to care for her at home for 2 years, but it was impossible. She had violent crises. Tried to hurt herself several more times. And he had a baby to protect. So, with a shattered heart, he made the most difficult decision of his life. He admitted Mariana permanently. And since then, he'd visited her every week, paid the hospital bills, sustained everything. But never brought Sofia along. I don't know what to do anymore, Mari, Rafael whispered that night. Sofia is suffering. And so am I. I feel so alone. So lost. Mariana squeezed his hand. You need to move forward, Rafa. You need to find someone. Someone who can make you happy. Who can be a mother to Sofia. I don't want anyone. I only want you. But you can't have me, Mariana said, with painful clarity. I'm not going to get better, Rafa. We need to accept that. I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life. And you deserve to be happy. Rafael didn't respond. Because he didn't know what to say. He stayed there, holding Mariana's hand, until she fell asleep. And then, he kissed her forehead, whispered "I love you," and left. Back in the car, he drove aimlessly for almost an hour. Thinking. Crying. Trying to find strength to go home and pretend everything was okay. While Rafael suffered alone through the city, back at the Jardins apartment, something extraordinary was happening. Laura and Sofia were sitting on the bedroom floor, surrounded by boxes of Christmas ornaments that Laura had found in the closet. She gently insisted, and Sofia finally agreed to decorate the tree. "Want to put this red ornament here, Sofia?" Laura asked, holding a shiny decoration. Sofia took the ornament carefully, as if it were the most fragile thing in the world, and hung it on a low branch of the tree. And then, she smiled. It was a small smile, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Laura felt her heart warm. "It looks beautiful. You have a special talent for decorating." And little by little, ornament by ornament, light by light, the tree came to life. Sofia loosened up a bit more. Started choosing colors. Suggesting where to place each decoration. And when they finished, they both sat on the floor, looking at the illuminated tree. "It's so pretty," Sofia whispered. "It really is. And you did it. You should be proud." Sofia was silent for a moment. And then, with that soft voice that Laura was beginning to recognize, she asked. "Laura, do you have a mom?" The question caught Laura by surprise. "Yes, I do. She lives far away, in another city." "Do you like her?" "Very much. I love her." "Does she love you?" "Yes, Sofia. Very much." The little girl lowered her head. "My mom doesn't love me." Laura felt tears coming to her eyes. She moved closer and held Sofia's small hand. "Why do you think that, sweetheart?" "Because she left. Grandma said so. She left because she didn't want to be a mom. Because I made her unhappy." Laura felt sudden anger. Anger at whoever had put that idea in a child's head. "Sofia, look at me. Look into my eyes." Sofia raised her face, eyes full of tears. "You're not to blame for anything. Nothing. Sometimes people leave for reasons we don't understand. But that's never, ever the child's fault. You're an amazing, beautiful, smart girl. Any mother would be lucky to have you. But mine didn't want me." Laura hugged Sofia, pressing her against her chest. "I don't know what happened with your mom, Sofia. But I'm sure of one thing, your dad loves you so much. So much. And I." Laura stopped, surprised by what she was about to say. "I just met you, but I already care about you so much." And it was true. Somehow, in those few hours, Laura had connected with that child in a way she'd sworn never to allow again. But she couldn't help it. Sofia had something that touched a deep part of Laura's soul. "Can you stay?" Sofia asked, her voice full of hope. "Can you live here with us?" Laura smiled, her heart aching. "It doesn't work like that, sweetheart. But I can come visit you. How does that sound? Promise?" "I promise." And in that moment, Laura broke her golden rule. She allowed herself to care. Allowed herself to create a bond. And she knew there was no going back. The hours passed. Laura put Sofia to bed around 10 p.m. The little girl was emotionally exhausted. Before closing her eyes, she held Laura's hand. "Can you sleep here? I'm scared to be alone." "Of course, sweetheart. I'll stay right here beside you all night. And Laura stayed. She lay down next to Sofia in the bed, holding her, feeling the little girl's breathing become slow and steady as sleep came. And as she looked at that angelic face, Laura felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. Connection. Love. She didn't know it, but she was falling in love. Not just with Sofia, but with the idea of being part of that broken family. Of being able to help. Of being able to heal. Rafael arrived home at 3:17 a.m. He was exhausted, emotionally and physically. He entered the apartment quietly and walked to Sofia's room. When he slowly opened the door, the scene he saw made his heart stop. Laura was lying in bed next to Sofia, both of them embraced, sleeping deeply. The light from the unicorn-shaped lamp softly illuminated the room. And the Christmas tree, the tree was completely decorated, shining with colorful lights. Rafael felt a lump in his throat. It had been 5 years since that tree had been decorated. 5 years since he'd avoided any symbol of Christmas in that house. But there it was, beautiful, illuminated. And his daughter was sleeping peacefully, with a slight smile on her face. He stood there, leaning against the doorframe, just watching. And for the first time in a very, very long time, he felt something different in his chest. Hope. Laura woke up suddenly, sensing someone's presence. She turned her head and saw Rafael standing in the doorway. She was startled but didn't want to wake Sofia. Carefully, she slowly got up from the bed and left the room, closing the door behind her. Sorry, Rafael whispered. Didn't mean to scare you. It's okay. I was sleeping light anyway. They went to the living room. Rafael sat on the couch and Laura stood, not quite knowing what to do. You decorated the tree, Rafael said. It wasn't a question. Sofia did it. She made it happen. I just helped. Rafael ran his hands over his face, and Laura noticed he was crying. It wasn't dramatic crying. Just silent tears sliding down his face. Thank you, he said. Thank you for making my daughter smile. Laura felt her heart squeeze. She told me some things today. About her mother. Rafael tensed immediately. What did she say? That she thinks her mother didn't love her. That her mother left because she didn't want to be a mom. That it's her fault. Rafael closed his eyes, as if each word were a stab. God. Rafael, what really happened? Because I know there's something more. I know the story is more complicated than a mother who simply abandoned her family. For a long moment, Rafael was silent. And Laura almost thought he wouldn't answer. But then, with a choked voice, he started talking. And he told her everything. He told her about Mariana. About the postpartum depression. About the suicide attempt. About the diagnosis. About the 5 years of hospitalization. About the weekly visits. About the guilt he carried every day. About the secret he kept from Sofia. How do I tell a 5-year-old child that her mother is alive but can't be with her? Rafael said, his voice breaking. How do I explain that the illness is stronger than love? That it's nobody's fault, but our family was destroyed anyway? Laura sat beside him on the couch and, without thinking twice, held his hand. Rafael, lying isn't protecting Sofia. It's hurting her. She needs to know the truth. She needs to know that her mother loves her, even though she's sick. That it's not her fault. That it never was. But what if she doesn't understand? What if I hurt her even more? You'll find the right words. And you don't have to do this alone. Rafael looked into Laura's eyes. Why do you care so much? You don't even know us. Laura smiled sadly. I lost my sister 2 years ago. She was everything to me. And since then, I built walls around myself, swore I'd never get attached to anyone again. But Sofia, she touched me in a way I didn't expect. And you're carrying a weight that no one should carry alone. I don't know if I can do this, Rafael whispered. You can. And I'll help you. If you want. And in that moment, something changed between them. A connection formed. A silent understanding. They were two broken people, carrying immense pain, but finding, in each other, a possibility of healing. The days following Christmas were transformative. Laura should have left. Should have returned to her normal life, her routine of working for different families, without bonds, without attachments. But she couldn't. She called Rafael on December 26th. I know I shouldn't get involved, she said, nervous. But I care about you guys. About Sofia. About you. Let me help. Please. And Rafael, who was so tired of fighting alone, accepted. Laura started spending every day at the apartment. Officially, she was Sofia's new nanny. But in practice she was becoming much more than that. She picked Sofia up from school. Prepared snacks. Helped with homework. Played with her at the park. And little by little, day by day, Sofia began opening up. Started talking more. Smiling more. Trusting. Laura, can you teach me how to make a cake? Sofia asked one day, with those big eyes full of hope. Of course. What kind of cake do you want to make? Chocolate. Daddy loves chocolate. And the two spent the entire afternoon in the kitchen, making a huge mess, laughing, having fun. When Rafael came home from work and saw the scene, Sofia in an apron, her face dirty with chocolate, smiling from ear to ear, he felt his heart almost burst with emotion. We made a cake for you, Daddy. Sofia yelled, running to hug him. Rafael lifted her in his arms and covered her with kisses. Really? For me? Yes. Laura taught me. He looked at Laura over Sofia's head, and his eyes said everything. Gratitude. Admiration. And something else. Something they were both still afraid to name. The weeks passed. January turned into February. And the connection between Rafael and Laura only grew. They started having dinner together after Sofia went to sleep. They'd talk for hours. About everything. About their childhoods, about dreams, about pain, about fears. I always wanted a big family, Rafael confessed one night. 4, 5 kids. A house full of laughter. But life had other plans. It can still happen, Laura said softly. You're still young. But I'm stuck in the past. Only if you choose to stay there. One night, Rafael asked about Beatriz. And Laura, for the first time since her sister's death, managed to talk about her without completely falling apart. She was everything to me, Laura said, tears in her eyes. My best friend. And when she died, I died a little too. I spent 2 years just existing, not really living. Until I met you guys. Sofia brought you back, Rafael said. You both brought me back. And in that moment, sitting on the couch, with the city sleeping outside, Rafael held Laura's hand. Intertwined his fingers with hers. And they stayed like that, in silence, just feeling each other's presence. But not everything was perfect. Because Rafael still hadn't told Sofia the truth. And the guilt was consuming him from inside. Laura insisted. Rafael, she needs to know. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. I know. I know. I just need the right moment. But the right moment never seemed to come. Until one afternoon, Sofia asked a question that changed everything. Laura, can you be my mom? Laura was helping Sofia color a drawing. When she heard the question, she felt her heart stop. Sofia. It's just that I really want to have a mom. And I like you so much. You take care of me, play with me, make me laugh. Can you be my mom? Please? Laura felt tears coming. She hugged Sofia. Sweetheart, I love you so much. So much. But you already have a mom. But she left. Sofia. I need to tell you something. But I think the person who should tell you is your dad. Can I call him? Sofia nodded, confused. Laura sent an urgent message to Rafael, who was at the office. He arrived home 20 minutes later, worried. What happened? Laura told him. And Rafael knew he couldn't keep postponing anymore. He knelt in front of Sofia and took her little hands. Sweetheart, Daddy needs to tell you something very important. About Mommy. And then, with a choked voice, with a broken heart, Rafael told the truth. He told her that Mariana hadn't abandoned the family. That she was sick. That the illness made her mind confused. That she was in a hospital, receiving treatment. That she loved Sofia more than anything in the world, but couldn't be present because of the illness. Sofia listened to everything in silence. And when Rafael finished, she asked. Does Mommy still love me? More than you can imagine, sweetheart. Can I see her? Rafael looked at Laura, who nodded encouragingly. Yes. You can. If you want, we'll visit her. And Sofia, with that unique wisdom of children, simply said. I want to. I want to meet my mommy. The following Saturday, the three of them went to Santa Clara Psychiatric Hospital. Rafael had called ahead and spoken at length with Mariana's doctors. He explained the situation. They agreed it would be therapeutic, both for Mariana and for Sofia, but warned, Mariana is having a good day today, but we can't guarantee how she'll react. Be prepared. In the car, on the way to the hospital, Sofia was quiet. Laura sat in the back seat with her, holding her hand. Are you nervous, sweetheart? Laura asked. A little bit, Sofia admitted. That's normal. But your daddy and I are going to be there with you the whole time. Okay? Okay. When they arrived at the hospital, Sofia squeezed Laura's hand tightly. They walked through the white hallways, and Rafael felt his heart beating so hard he thought it would burst out of his chest. Room 304. They stopped in front of the door. Ready? Rafael asked, looking at Laura and Sofia. Laura nodded. Sofia took a deep breath and nodded too. Rafael opened the door. Mariana was sitting in the armchair near the window, flipping through a magazine. When she heard the door open, she looked up. And when she saw Sofia, when she saw her daughter, for the first time in 5 years, her face completely transformed. Oh my God! She whispered, dropping the magazine. Tears started falling instantly. Sofia. Sofia looked at her father, who nodded encouragingly. And then, slowly, with hesitant steps, she approached. Hi, Mommy, Sofia said, in that soft little voice. Mariana covered her mouth with her hands, stifling a sob. She knew she'd failed as a mother. She knew her illness had stolen from her the first years of Sofia's life. And now, here was her daughter, visiting her in a psychiatric hospital, trying to understand why Mommy couldn't be home. "Sweetheart, Mommy has an illness in her head. It's not like the flu, that goes away in a few days. It's an illness that needs a lot of treatment, special medicines, doctors who take care of Mommy every day. But you know what never changed? How much I love you. From the day you were born, from the first time I held you in my arms, you're the most important thing in my life." Sofia looked at her mother with those big, curious eyes. "But why don't you come home, Mommy? Daddy can take care of you there." Rafael felt his heart squeeze. He approached and knelt beside the bed, holding both their hands, Mariana's and Sofia's. "Sofia, sweetheart, Mommy needs to stay here to get better. The doctors here know exactly how to take care of her. And when she's stronger, she'll be able to visit us more often, spend more time with us. But for now, we come here to see her whenever we can, okay?" Sofia nodded slowly, processing everything. "Okay, Daddy. But can I bring drawings for Mommy? So she won't be sad?" Mariana started crying again, but this time they were tears of gratitude. "I would love that, my angel. I would love that." Laura, who was watching everything from a corner of the room, felt her heart overflow. She saw they're not just a broken family, but a family fighting to rebuild itself. And somehow, she was part of this now. When they left the hospital, it was late afternoon. The sky was tinged with orange and pink, that kind of sunset that seems to bring hope even on the hardest days. Rafael carried Sofia in his arms, who was tired but visibly lighter. The little girl finally had answers. Finally knew it wasn't her fault. "Laura," Rafael called, as they walked to the car. "Thank you. Thank you for giving me the courage to do this. I never would have managed it alone." Laura smiled, but there was something in her eyes, a vulnerability she tried to hide. "I only did what anyone would do." "No," Rafael said, stopping and looking directly at her. "You did what someone who cares would do. And that means a lot to me. To us." There was a silence. One of those silences loaded with unspoken things. Laura felt her heart race. She knew she was crossing a line. That she was falling in love with this man and this child. And that scared her deeply. Because the last time she allowed herself to love someone, her younger sister, she lost her. And the pain was so great that Laura swore to herself she'd never get attached to anyone again. But now she was breaking that promise. And she didn't know if she was ready for that. In the weeks following, Laura continued visiting Rafael and Sofia. Not as a hired nanny, but as a friend. As someone who genuinely cared. She took Sofia for ice cream after school, helped Rafael prepare dinner, played with the little girl at the park. And little by little, without realizing it, she was becoming part of that routine. Rafael noticed it. And he was also feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't just gratitude. It was attraction. It was admiration. It was love. He tried to control himself. Tried to maintain emotional distance. After all, he was still technically married to Mariana. Even though they hadn't lived together for years, even though the marriage only existed on paper, he felt guilty for having feelings for someone else. But Laura made that difficult. She was kind without being invasive. She was present without being suffocating. She understood Sofia in a way few people could. And she looked at him in a way that made Rafael feel alive again. One night, after Sofia fell asleep, Rafael and Laura were sitting on the apartment balcony, drinking wine and talking about life. "Were you ever married?" Rafael asked, curious. Laura shook her head. "No. Never came close to it, actually." "Why?" "You're amazing. Any man would be lucky to have you." Laura gave a sad smile. I was always good at taking care of others, but terrible at letting anyone take care of me. After my sister died, I closed myself off. I thought it was easier that way. Rafael understood perfectly. I did the same thing. After Mariana got sick, I built a wall around myself. I thought if I didn't let anyone in, I wouldn't suffer again. Did it work? Laura asked. No, Rafael admitted, smiling sideways. Because then you showed up and knocked down that wall without even realizing it. Laura felt her face warm. She wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. Then Rafael continued. Laura, I know this is complicated. I know my situation isn't ideal. But I can't stop thinking about you. And I know this is selfish of me, but do you feel the same way? Laura closed her eyes for a moment. She could lie. Could say no, that it was just friendship, that she wasn't feeling anything more than compassion. But she was tired of lying to herself. Yes, she whispered. I feel the same way. And that scares me so much. Rafael moved closer slowly, giving her time to pull back if she wanted. But Laura didn't pull back. And when his lips touched hers, it was as if the world stopped. It was a soft kiss, careful, full of fear and hope at the same time. A kiss that said, I'm scared too, but I want to try. When they separated, Laura had tears in her eyes. What now? She asked. Now, we take it slow, Rafael said, holding her face in his hands. We figure it out together. No rush. No pressure. Okay? Laura nodded. And for the first time in years, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she could be happy again. But not everything is roses. Because a few days after that kiss, Laura started having doubts. She was falling in love with a man who was still married, even if only on paper. A man who visited his sick ex-wife every week. A man who carried a complex and painful past. And worse, she was getting attached to Sofia. What if things didn't work out between her and Rafael? What if she had to leave that little girl's life and cause another trauma? These questions hammered in Laura's head, keeping her awake at night, making her question everything. Until one night, she decided to talk to her best friend, Beatriz, who also worked as a nanny. Bea, I don't know what to do. I'm falling in love with him. But I'm afraid I'm doing the wrong thing. Beatriz listened to everything patiently and then said, Laura, you spent 2 years of your life running from feelings. You closed yourself off after your sister's death because you were afraid of losing someone again. But honey, living in fear isn't living. It's surviving. And you deserve more than that. But what if I get hurt? What if I hurt Sofia? What if you don't get hurt? What if it's the best thing that's ever happened to you? Laura, love is always a risk. Always. But it's a risk worth taking. Those words kept echoing in Laura's mind. And she realized that Beatriz was right. She couldn't let fear control her life forever. Meanwhile, Rafael was also wrestling with his own demons. He felt guilty. Guilty for falling in love with Laura while Mariana was still alive. Guilty for moving forward while she remained trapped in her own mind. So, on one of his visits to the hospital, he decided to talk to Mariana about it. Mari, I need to tell you something, he began, nervous. Mariana looked at him with those tired but still attentive eyes. You met someone. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Rafael was speechless for a moment. How did you? Because you're different, Rafa. You're lighter. I haven't seen you like this in years. And I know it's not me who's making you happy. So it can only be someone else. Rafael felt tears coming. Mari, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted. Stop, Mariana interrupted, holding his hand. Rafa, I haven't been a good wife to you for 5 years. I know that. And as much as it hurts to admit, I know I'll never be again. My illness, it has no cure. Just management. And even with treatment, I know I'll never be able to be the mother and wife you guys deserve. Don't say that. Let me finish, she said, firmly. You took care of me when no one else would. You visited me every week for 5 years. You never abandoned me, even when it would have been so much easier. But Rafa, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to love and be loved. And if you found someone who makes you happy, who takes good care of our daughter, then you have my blessing. Rafael couldn't hold back the tears. Are you sure? I'm sure. And who knows, maybe this will also free me to focus on my own healing, without the guilt of holding you back. It was one of the most difficult and most liberating conversations Rafael had ever had. And when he left that hospital, for the first time in years, he felt he had permission to move forward. He went straight to Laura's house. Knocked on the door at 10 p.m., without warning. When she opened it, surprised, he simply said, I love you. Laura froze. What? I love you, Laura. I know it's fast, I know it's complicated, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel this. You came into my life like an angel and showed me that there's still hope. And I want to try. I want to try to be happy again. With you. Laura felt tears streaming down. Rafael, I love you too. But I'm so scared. I'm scared too, he admitted. But let's be scared together, okay? And there, in that poorly lit hallway, they kissed again. But this time, without fear. This time, with hope. In the months that followed, Rafael and Laura officially started a relationship. But they took it slow, respecting Sofia's time and their own healing process. Sofia loved the idea. In fact, she'd realized long before the adults themselves that there was something special between her father and Laura. Daddy, is Laura going to be my new mommy? She asked one night, while Rafael was tucking her in. Rafael chose his words carefully. Sweetheart, you already have a mommy. Mariana. And she loves you very much, even though she's sick. Laura. Laura is someone very special who also loves you and wants to take care of you. But that doesn't mean she's going to replace your mom. It means you're going to have more people loving you. Understand? Sofia thought for a moment and then nodded. So I can have 2 mommies who love me? Exactly. And that's pretty lucky, isn't it? Sofia smiled. Yeah. I really like Laura, Daddy. She makes me laugh. I really like her too, sweetheart. And that simple, honest, love-filled conversation was what sealed everything. But not everything was easy. Because building a blended family requires patience, dialogue, and a lot of love. There were moments when Sofia had jealousy episodes. Moments when she wanted her father's exclusive attention and saw Laura as an intruder. Moments when she cried asking for her biological mother, missing what she'd never had. And Laura also had her moments of insecurity. Moments when she wondered if she was doing the right thing. If she really had what it took to be a mother figure to Sofia. If Rafael truly loved her or if she was just a convenient solution. But whenever things got difficult, they talked. They didn't hold grudges. They didn't pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. And it was precisely that brutal honesty that strengthened the relationship. One afternoon, about 4 months after that first kiss, Laura and Sofia were alone at home making cookies. Rafael had gone out to handle work matters. Laura, Sofia called, while mixing the dough. Can I ask you a question? Of course, sweetheart. You can ask me anything. Are you going to marry my daddy? Laura almost dropped the cookie tray. She didn't expect that question coming from a 5-year-old. Sophia, why are you asking that? Because Anna from my school said that when grown-ups date, they get married. And I want to know if you're going to marry Daddy and live here forever. Laura sat on the floor, at Sophia's height, and held her little hands covered in dough. Sophia, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I know one thing, I love you so much. And I love your daddy so much. And if we ever decide to get married, you'll be the first to know, okay? Because you're part of that decision too. Sophia smiled. So if you marry Daddy, will I be your flower girl? Laura laughed, with tears in her eyes. Absolutely. You'll be the most beautiful flower girl in the world. Then okay. Sophia went back to mixing the dough, as if that deep conversation hadn't just happened. And Laura stayed there, sitting on the kitchen floor, realizing that this child had completely stolen her heart. 6 months had passed since that Christmas Eve that changed everything. And Rafael knew it was time. He talked to Mariana first, before anything else. He officially asked for a divorce, in an amicable and respectful way. Mariana agreed without hesitation. You deserve to be happy, Rafa. And Sofia deserves to have a complete family. I'll always love you both, but I know my place now is here, focusing on my healing. And knowing you guys are okay, that gives me peace. Rafael hugged her. You'll always be part of Sofia's life. Always. And I'll bring her here every week, like I always have. I know. And thank you for never giving up on me. It was a painful but necessary goodbye. And Rafael left there feeling that he finally had emotional permission to move forward completely. He planned everything down to the smallest detail. He enlisted Sofia's help, who was thrilled to be part of the surprise. Daddy, is Laura going to cry? Sofia asked, excited. I think so, sweetheart. But it'll be happy tears. Can I throw the rose petals? Of course. You're going to be my special helper. And so, on a Saturday night, Rafael invited Laura to dinner at home. He said he was going to cook something special. Laura didn't suspect anything. When she arrived, the house was all decorated with candles and soft lights. There was a path of rose petals from the gate to the living room. And in the middle of the living room, Rafael and Sofia waited, holding hands. What's all this? Laura asked, with a confused smile. Laura, Rafael began, his voice trembling with emotion. 7 months ago, you came into my life in a way I never could have predicted. You arrived as a temporary babysitter and became my best friend, my partner, my reason to wake up happy every day. Laura brought her hand to her chest, already feeling the tears coming. You taught me to love again. You showed me that the past doesn't have to define the future. And most importantly, you loved my daughter as if she were your own. You brought light to a house that had been dark for so long. Then Sofia stepped forward, holding a small velvet box. Laura, will you marry my daddy and be my mommy forever? The little girl asked, with that sweet voice full of hope. Laura broke down in tears. She knelt and hugged Sofia with all her strength. Yes, sweetheart. Yes, I will. And then Rafael also knelt, opening the box with the ring. Laura, will you marry me? Will you build a family with me and Sofia? Will you be my wife and face everything that comes our way together? Laura could barely speak from crying so much. But she managed to say the only word that mattered. Yes. Yes, I will. Rafael put the ring on her finger and kissed her. And Sofia jumped in between them both, making a group hug. Right there, in that moment, they were no longer 3 separate people. They were a family. The months that followed were pure happiness and bustle. Laura and Rafael decided to have a small, intimate wedding, just with family and close friends. Sofia was involved in every detail. She chose the color of the flowers, helped taste the cake, and of course, chose her own flower girl dress. "Daddy, I want a pink dress with sparkles," she declared. "Then it'll be pink with sparkles," Rafael agreed, smiling. Laura also made a point of including Mariana in the process. She went to the hospital and talked to her. "Mariana, I wanted to ask you something. I know the situation is complicated. But you're Sofia's mother. And I'm never going to try to take your place. I wanted you to know that you're welcome at the wedding. And that I'm going to take very good care of Sofia and Rafael. I promise." Mariana took Laura's hands. "I know you will. And thank you for respecting me. For never trying to erase me from my daughter's life. You're a special woman, Laura. And I know they're in good hands." The two hugged, and a mutual respect was born there that many people wouldn't understand, but made perfect sense to them. The wedding day arrived. It was a September morning, sunny and perfect. The ceremony was simple, in the garden at Laura's parents' house. There were about 30 people present, only the closest ones. Sofia stole the show as flower girl. She threw rose petals with so much enthusiasm that she made everyone laugh. And when Laura walked in, arm in arm with her father, Rafael felt the world stop. She looked stunning in a simple, elegant dress, with a bouquet of white lilies. When she reached the altar, Rafael held her hands and whispered, "You're perfect." The officiant began the ceremony, but what really touched everyone's hearts were the vows. Rafael went first. "Laura, I spent years of my life believing that happiness was something I didn't deserve. Believing that my destiny was to carry the weight of the past alone. But you showed me I was wrong. You showed me that love isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. You loved my wounds, my fears, my baggage. And most importantly, you loved my daughter as if she were your own. Today, I promise to love you every day. On good days and difficult days. I promise to be your partner, your best friend, your safe harbor. I promise to build with you a life full of love, laughter, and hope. I love you, Laura. Forever." Laura was crying, but managed to speak. "Rafael, I spent 2 years of my life afraid to love. Afraid to lose. Afraid to suffer again. But you and Sofia taught me that love is worth all the risks. You gave me back the will to dream, to smile, to believe the future can be beautiful. Today, I promise to be your faithful wife and companion. I promise to love Sofia as my own daughter. I promise to be by your side always, in joys and storms. I promise to build a home full of affection, patience, and true love. I love you, Rafael. And I love our family." There wasn't a dry eye at the ceremony. And when the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Rafael and Laura kissed under emotional applause. Sofia ran and hugged both their legs, shouting, "Now we're a real family." And yes, now they were. The first months of marriage were about adjustment. Laura officially moved into Rafael's house, and little by little, that space transformed into a true home. She brought her plants, her books, her paintings. And Rafael made sure to create a special corner for her, a small office where she could work and have her own space. Sofia adapted wonderfully well. She now called Laura Mommy Laura, and Mariana Mommy Mari. And both women respected those roles. Mariana continued in treatment, but was visibly better. She'd started a new medication that was finally working. And once a month, she received medical authorization to spend a weekend at home, with supervision. On those weekends, Rafael, Laura, Sofia, and Mariana formed an atypical family, but full of love. They made sure to create happy memories for Sofia, memories she could carry for the rest of her life. One day, about a year after the wedding, Laura made an exciting announcement. "Rafa, Sofia. I have news to share with you guys." They both looked at her, curious. Laura smiled, nervous. "I'm pregnant." For a second, there was silence. And then Rafael picked her up and spun her around the room. "Really? You're pregnant?" "Yes. 6 weeks." Sofia jumped with joy. "I'm going to have a little brother." "Or a little sister," Laura corrected, laughing. Rafael kissed her passionately. "I love you so much. So much. I love you too." And there, in that room full of laughter and hugs, that family celebrated the arrival of another member. Another piece of love to complete the puzzle. The 9 months of pregnancy were intense, but happy. Rafael was the most caring husband in the world, making sure to pamper Laura in every detail. Sofia was also radiant. She talked to Mommy Laura's belly every day, sang songs, told stories. And when the day of delivery finally arrived, it was Rafael who held Laura's hand, wiped away her tears, and encouraged her to be strong. "You can do it, my love. You're the strongest woman I know." And after hours of labor, Gabriel was born. A healthy baby boy, with clear eyes and chubby cheeks. When they placed Gabriel in Laura's arms for the first time, she cried. Cried for everything she had been through. Cried for the journey that brought her there. Cried with gratitude. And Rafael, beside her, also cried. Because finally, after so many years of pain, he had a complete family. A family he never imagined would be possible. Sofia met her little brother a few hours later, and it was love at first sight. "He's so tiny," she whispered, afraid to wake him. "You were like that too when you were born," Rafael said, running his hand through his daughter's hair. "I promised to take care of him, Daddy. I promised to be the best big sister in the world." "I know you will, my love." And in that hospital room, surrounded by love and hope, that family celebrated the miracle of life. Gabriel grew up surrounded by love. He had an older sister who adored him, a present and loving father, and a mother who loved him unconditionally. And he also had Mommy Mari, who, despite not living with them, was part of his life from the very beginning. Mariana had significantly improved over the years. She never received a full discharge, but managed to move to a therapeutic support home, where she had more freedom and autonomy. She visited the family regularly. And Gabriel grew up knowing that family can take many different forms. Sofia, who was now 10 years old, was a bright, affectionate girl and extremely protective of her younger brother. She helped Laura take care of him, taught him things, played with him, and often acted as a true surrogate mother when her parents were busy. "Mommy Laura," she called one day, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course, sweetheart. Always." "Do you regret accepting that job on Christmas Eve? When you met us?" Laura stopped what she was doing and looked at Sofia with tenderness. "Sofia, that was the best decision of my life. If I hadn't accepted, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met your dad. I wouldn't have Gabriel. I wouldn't have this beautiful family I have today. So no, my love. I don't regret it for a second." Sofia smiled and hugged Laura. "I don't regret it either. You're the best mommy in the world." "You have 2 best mommies in the world," Laura corrected, with a smile. "It's true. I'm a lucky girl." One of the most beautiful moments of this journey happened when Gabriel turned 3. They organized a simple birthday party at home, with some friends from preschool and the family. And for the first time, Mariana participated in a complete party, from beginning to end. She was well that day. Medicated, lucid, present. And when Gabriel blew out the candles on the cake, it was Mariana who held him in her arms. Make a wish, my prince, she whispered. Gabriel closed his eyes tightly and blew. And everyone applauded. Later, when the children were playing in the backyard, Mariana pulled Laura aside. Laura, I'll never be able to thank you enough, she said, her eyes welling up. Thank me for what, Mari? For taking such good care of my daughter. For never trying to erase me from her life. For teaching her to love me even with all my limitations. You could have done differently. You could have created a distance between Sofia and me. But you did the opposite. You built bridges. And for that, I am eternally grateful to you. Laura hugged Mariana. Mari, you are her mother. Nothing changes that. I'm just here to add, never to subtract. And Sofia is lucky to have you. Even with everything, she has you. The two cried together. And in that embrace, there was healing. There was forgiveness. There was respect. Rafael, watching from afar, felt his heart overflow. He had two incredible women in his daughter's life. And both respected each other, supported each other, honored each other. That was rare. That was special. That was true love. But life, as always, is not a fairy tale without obstacles. And a few years later, when Gabriel was 5 and Sofia 14, the family faced a new challenge. Mariana had a severe relapse. She stopped taking her medication without telling anyone, went into a psychotic episode, and had to be rushed to the hospital. It was terrifying. Especially for Sofia, who was old enough to understand the gravity of the situation. Daddy, is Mommy Mari going to be okay? She asked, tears in her eyes. Rafael didn't lie. I don't know, my love. But the doctors are doing everything they can. And we're going to keep visiting her, praying for her, and rooting for her. Because we don't give up on the people we love, do we? No. We don't give up. And during those difficult months, Laura was the pillar of the family. She held things together at home, took care of the children, supported Rafael emotionally, and still found time to visit Mariana at the hospital. Why do you do this? Mariana asked one day, confused. Why do you take care of me? I'm nothing to you. You're my daughter's mother, Laura replied, simply. That makes you important to me. And I believe everyone deserves to have someone by their side in difficult times. You're not alone, Mari. You never were. Mariana cried. And Laura held her hand until she fell asleep. Eventually, Mariana stabilized again. She returned to the support home, with more rigorous supervision and a new treatment plan. And life went on. But that episode taught the family an important lesson: healing is not linear. It has ups and downs. It has relapses. It has difficult days. But love persists. Love doesn't give up. Love holds firm even when everything seems to be falling apart. Years passed. Sofia was now 18 and about to enter college. Gabriel was 9 and was a cheerful, energetic child. And on a Sunday in May, the family organized a special lunch. It was Laura and Rafael's wedding anniversary, 10 years together. Mariana was there. Laura's parents too. Some close friends. And the children. During lunch, Sofia asked to speak. I'd like to make a toast, she said, raising her glass. 18 years ago, I was born into a broken family. My biological mother was sick. My father was lost. And I grew up thinking it was my fault. She looked at Mariana, who was crying. Mommy Mari, you gave me life. And even though you were sick, you never stopped loving me. I know that now. And I love you very much. Then she looked at Laura. Mommy Laura, you came into my life when I needed it most. You taught me what unconditional love is. You showed me that family isn't just about blood, it's about choice. And you chose me. Every single day. And then she looked at Rafael. Daddy, you're my hero. You never gave up. Never. You carried this family on your back for years, and even so, you kept standing. I admire you more than words can express. Finally, she looked at Gabriel. And my little brother, you're the cherry on top of this crazy, beautiful family. You remind us every day of what truly matters: love, laughter, and being together. Sofia raised her glass higher. So I want to toast to this family. An imperfect family, but a real one. A family that went through storms, but never sank. A family that taught me that love always wins. I love you all. All of you. There wasn't a dry eye at the table. Everyone toasted, amidst tears and smiles. And Rafael held Laura's hand, looking around the table. That was his family. Imperfect, but perfect at the same time. That night, after everyone had left, Rafael and Laura sat on the balcony, watching the stars. Do you think we did everything right? Laura asked, resting her head on his shoulder. No. We made a lot of mistakes. We stumbled, fell, doubted. But you know what we did right? We loved. We tried. We never gave up. Laura smiled. Do you regret anything? Only one thing, Rafael admitted. What? Not asking you to marry me sooner, he said, laughing. Could have saved a few years of loneliness. Laura playfully slapped him. Idiot. A loving idiot, he corrected, kissing her. And there, under the starry sky, that couple who met on a Christmas Eve celebrated everything they had built together. Because in the end, love isn't about having a perfect story. It's about having a real story. It's about choosing to stay even when it gets tough. It's about forgiving. It's about rebuilding. It's about believing that the future can be better than the past. Laura entered Rafael's life as a temporary nanny. But she became his wife, his partner, the mother of his son, and the second mother of his daughter. And Rafael, who was lost in darkness, found in the light of Laura's eyes the reason to dream again. Sofia learned that she can have two mothers, and that both are valuable. Gabriel grew up in a home full of love, even if unconventional. And Mariana, despite her limitations, was never excluded or forgotten. That family proved that love is greater than any illness. That forgiveness heals deep wounds. That patience builds bridges. And that it's never, ever too late to start over. 10 years after that Christmas Eve, Laura sometimes still thought about that night. About that phone call from the agency. About that decision to take a last-minute job. And she was grateful. Grateful for having said yes. For having gone. For having allowed herself to feel. Because that night changed everything. For everyone. And it all started with a simple act of kindness, agreeing to help someone in need. Sometimes, that's all we need to do. Agree to help. Agree to love. Agree to try. And the rest is built one day at a time. And so ends the story of Laura, Rafael, Sofia, Gabriel, and Mariana. A story about second chances, about love that heals, about families that rebuild themselves. A story that teaches us that no matter how broken we are, there is always hope. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. There is always someone willing to hold our hand. Life isn't perfect. People aren't perfect. But love has the power to transform even the most impossible situations into something beautiful. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening to this story. It was made with care, to touch your heart and remind you that you too deserve love, deserve to start over, deserve to be happy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next amazing stories we have prepared for you. Leave a comment telling us, what city are you listening from? And what part of this story touched your heart the most? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message today. Someone who is going through a difficult time. Someone who needs to believe that better days will come. Because they will come. They always do. A big hug, and see you in the next story.